Hey guys, welcome here and welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Blue Collar Future Podcast. Couldn't do this without the support of everybody. And it's honestly at this point become almost more for me than even the viewers. And I'm trying to add a ton of value into these podcasts that I make. So if you're getting value out of it, DM me and let me know. And if you are getting value out of it, send it to a friend who you think might also get something out of it. Today's episode is going to be on the power of networking, something that is talked about a lot in this social media influencer time. You know, your network is your net worth, and you hear all these catchy phrases, and the networking almost seems to be more for business owners and geared towards business owners. And that can't be farther from the truth. Networking is for everybody, and it is how humans operate. It's literally just building relationships and making friends. Simple as that. And also comes with an added bonus of the catchy catchphrase being your network is your net worth. If you are surrounded by people of a high net worth, and you have made your way into those circles, you cannot help but be given opportunities, even from just being around them. So without further ado, I kind of came up with 4 things that I was thinking about, the power of networking and kind of how to network. So kind of the reason number 1, friends like to do business with friends and refer business to their friends. And you hear a lot of business owners kind of complain about working with friends and family. But to make it simple, doing business with friends is typically one of the best things that you can do. And if you pull it off, which it's not that hard, it just takes some extra clarification and clear boundaries on how you're doing business, and then also sharing the same mindset as these people. Doing business with friends is one of the best things that you can do. And your friends will also speak very highly of you and refer their friends to you. I was listening to a podcast a while back about the BNI group, and from the guy who started, I forget his name. He was talking about how everybody has a certain amount of connections. And when you go into a tight-knit circle like a BNI group, you are automatically connected to all of those people's connections, and everybody has, like, let's say 50 connections that they can rely on. If you're in a group of 50 and each of those people have 50 connections and you are connected to all of them by default, then imagine the possibilities of how many people you can network with and talk to and get opportunities from. And we talk about this from a business aspect, but it's even more important and just as important from an employee aspect, because if you don't have a strong network of people to go to when things get rough and you know, layoffs come around, and they do happen even to the best of us, the better network you have, the more opportunities you will have. You have 5 to 10 people in your field that you have networked with and have a good relationship with. If you have some sort of trouble with your job currently, if you are working for somebody, you can pretty much go to them and be guaranteed a job and pass up all of the other applications. And even if there isn't even a job opening, a lot of times that people that know you will make room for you. And that goes into my number 2. It's not what you know, but who you know. And that being said, going to apply for new jobs, if you know somebody in the company, automatically puts you higher up on the list of applicants. A lot of applicants get kind of shuffled through, and a lot of applications and resumes are mediocre at best. And your resume is your relationship with this person. I want you to think about that for a minute. Your resume for this specific job is your relationship and what they know about you. Yeah, obviously they're going to want to see an actual resume and a work history and your experience, but that personal relationship and the fact that they know you, and if they vouch for you, which that's another important thing, is being worthy of that and living your life in a way that people will vouch for you. You will skip to the top of that line of applicants and most likely get the job, because it's who you know, not really what you know. You can have a candidate that has meets every criteria, passes with flying colors, has a phenomenal resume, and if they don't know anybody and they're fresh out of school or whatever it is, you will likely get in above this person, even if they have more experience than you do. You will likely get in before this person just from your work networking. So those are kind of two big reasons that that show the kind of the power of networking. And the next two are kind of how to. So I'd say the first step would be to reach out to people in your field and in related fields and just start talking to them, bond over similar interests. If you're doing Instagram, you can follow somebody on Instagram, like and comment on their posts, send them a message, be like, yo, I saw that car that you have. That's my dream car. That's awesome. Love it. Anything like that. That's how some of the most powerful relationships that I've seen built from networking and especially social media have been done. My mentor, Sean Whalen, was saying the same thing about a couple people that he knows and he has bonded with over cars, and never even really talked business at all. And they didn't even really know anything about the business aspect. And when it came down to it and they met each other in person, instant connection, instant opportunities, instant relationships, instant business, because they bonded over cars. And I might be thinking this of somebody else, but it still stands that this is how this goes. Relationships and business is done, and jobs are gotten not necessarily from the most experienced people. They come about from relationships, and I can vouch for that myself, being a new business owner and not having very much experience in websites as what me and my wife have. My wife has some experience, and then I have some learned experience, but not any field really experience or any job experience, because I do concrete. And I've just been going to school and learning that stuff on the side. And people have taken a chance on me because of my networking and my building relationships with people, and they trust me and know me. And that goes a lot farther than getting a bid in from somebody that is, this big company. And even if they're cheaper or whatever, they just don't know them. It's not as much of a personal deal as it is from somebody that they know. And I'd say this next one is also kind of ties into what I just talked about. Take an interest in what they do and talk to them about it. Be there, be listening. If it's in person, especially, be there and listening. Don't get distracted. Ask them questions. Be intentful about what questions you're asking, and don't try to just splurge a bunch of stuff about yourself. Be consciously asking them stuff about themselves and taking an interest in what they do. And people love that. People love to talk about themselves, even if they say they don't. They love talking about what they do. And especially if you're in that sort of a scenario, everybody's more than happy to do that. Next one is actually something I heard the other day, and it's more of a sales tactic. But in networking, I would say my biggest key line for this podcast would be that when you are networking with people, you are selling yourself. And when you are doing business with people, you are not selling your product, you are selling yourself. So that takes me into this next one. Learn their name. People like it when you know their names. If you've ever seen the guy on the job that knows everybody's names and calls everybody by their name, he's usually well liked because it shows that you're taking interest in people. And you'd be surprised at how far that goes in networking and in sales and in life. Relationships are how all of this goes. If you're trying to be a great salesman, you become a quote unquote people person and take an interest in people, learn their name, ask them questions, be friendly, all of that sort of thing. Same thing with networking. Don't go into it being self-centered. Don't go into it looking to get something out of it, even if you go into it with an overarching goal of, I want to connect with this person. Going into it with saying, I really want to do business with that person, or I really want that person to give me a job, isn't necessarily the right way to go about it. But just going into connecting with people just because is the mindset shift that has to happen for this type of networking to occur. And that's what I've got for today's episode. We'll go do a little recap. Friends like to do business with friends and refer each other. It's not what you know, but who you know. Typically skip the line of applicants if you're applying for a job. And that goes for bids too. If you're giving out a bid to somebody, you skip that if you have a connection or a referral most of the time. Number 4, which is a tip, reach out to people in your field or similar fields and bond over similar interests. And this next one, take an interest in what they do. Pretty similar, little differences there. And the last one, learn their name. Learn people's names. I heard a very convincing argument from a very popular sales trainer. I think his name was Elliot something or other. He's very popular, and his name is slipping me just because I just barely came across his videos, and I listened to a podcast he did, and it was pretty convincing and powerful about how he became the number one car salesman. And you think car salesman, snake oil man, all of that, but he became the number one selling car salesman in the US. And this is one of the main things he did: learn people's names, network, sell yourself. And that's how it's done. If you guys like this episode or got something out of it, subscribe, leave a rating and review, share with a friend. I say this all the time, but we've got apparel sort of in the works and planning coming on the way. So be able to look into that. If you have somebody that you want to hear me interview or have on the podcast, hit me up in the DMs. And if you want to be on the podcast, or you want to contribute in some way, let me know. And thank you for listening. See you next time.